anybody who knows anything about me knows that I love the Paper Mario games, okay? The first two games are number 1 and 2 on my game list still. I'm 31 games deep, this is game number 32, and they've managed to stay the top 2 this whole time. Now, when Nintendo announced Paper Mario the Origami King, I got a little bit nervous, right? So the past 2 games, Sticker Star and Color Splash, were not as well received as, the first 2-3 games even. I didn't even actually finish Color Splash, and so coming into this, I was a little bit nervous, but also very ready to play the game and see what it's all about. Now I'm going to give a quick spoiler warning here. I'm going to be talking about the game, and there might be some spoilers. I'm talking about some locations, some characters that are in the game, and so nothing endgame. I don't know if I even talked about anything past Chapter 4. I might, so just a spoiler warning, throwing that out there, but with all that being said, let's play Paper Mario the Origami King and add it to my game list. The story of Paper Mario the Origami King is a familiar one to fans of Mario. Mario needs to rescue Peach. Only this time, it isn't from Bowser, it's from King Ollie. King Ollie is an origami guy who wants to turn the whole world, or at least the Mushroom Kingdom, into origami instead of just flat paper. As such, King Ollie decides to start with Peach and some others, and then steals her castle and puts it on top of a volcano, wrapped up with streamers. As Mario, you work with King Ollie's sister, Olivia, to destroy the streamers and rescue Princess Peach and the rest of the Mushroom Kingdom. Along the way, you meet a pretty wide cast of characters from the Mario universe. There's Shy Guys, Koopas, Goombas, Clubbas, of course Toads, and a whole host of others. What's really interesting that hasn't been seen before is the interaction with all of these characters. In this game, it's origami versus paper, so when you see a flat Koopa, even if it's one of King Bowser's personal, most loyal minions, the first thing isn't fight, it's talk and learn, which I really enjoyed. Olivia is often both hilarious, but also good source of emotional processes, as she tries to understand why her brother is trying to take over the world and reconciling the fact that she has to help take him down. Besides Olivia, partners are back in a way in this game, such as a Bob-omb that will help you fight for a couple chapters, or Professor Toad, the archaeologist that helps you around the desert level. These characters, along with all of the others in the game, really work together to bring the story to life. Some of them are at jobs that they may or may not enjoy, such as some of the workers at Shogun Studios. Some characters just want to enjoy a vacation, such as many of the Sniffets in the desert. They all have their own motivation for being in this world, and it shows pretty clearly. These characters are also what make the story, as the dialogue when you interact with them all tends to lead towards the comedic side, but this game isn't afraid to take a creepy tone as well. Just look at the opening scene with Princess Peach. Spooky. Overall, there's a lot to the story, but what really shines is the characters in the story, and for them, I'm going to give this 86 points. One of the 2 main ways you experience this game is through the world itself, and walking around it. You start off in Toad Town, which by itself looks completely different than how we've seen it before, but you get to adventure as Mario to new places in the Origami King. When exploring, there's actually a decent amount to do, and a lot of different collectible types to be found. For example, there are hidden toads everywhere. Sometimes they're not so hidden, but always able to be found, and once found, they will be able to aid you in combat. There are also spots called not-so-bottomless pits, where part of the world is torn up and you need to set it right with confetti. If you played Paper Mario Color Splash, you'll be familiar with this mechanic, as in that game they used paint for the same purpose. But here, confetti is the currency with which you'll fix the world. One thing that was a little upsetting was how little confetti was actually used. I mean, you can use it all the time, but it's not super often that the game forces you to fix a path in the road to progress. And there are no other uses for confetti except for fixing these holes. Otherwise, the world of course contains question mark blocks plenty, and treasure chests that contain collectible statues. Now, I'm not actually 100% sure what the point of the statues was meant to be, but they look really cool, and you get to examine them, as well as other collectibles, in a museum. The museum was actually really cool to me, as it was a solid place to check and see all the things I've collected on my journey. Although the pause menu in the game also has a really amazing collectible tracking system that I personally enjoyed. One great addition to the exploration part of the Origami King gameplay is puzzles. Paper Mario games have always had some degree of puzzles, but this game felt like it was really turned up a notch in exciting ways. For example, in a desert, you have to find the Eyes of Towers, and each tower gives you a hint to go search for it. Or in Shogun Studios, you have to go through this really cool ninja training course that requires careful movement and searching around for the right exit, along with, of course, some hidden toad ninjas. The one thing in puzzles that was new and exciting, but sometimes a little tedious, was the Vellumentals. You'll go to a few different temples and battle these large origami creatures, which ends up in Olivia being able to take their power and use it not only for battles, but in the world as well. Some puzzles need you to use these Vellumental powers, but to be honest, they weren't really that exciting to me. I preferred a lot more using the 1000 fold arm technique, because that let you move things around and smash those really cool streamer ribbon wheels. Overall, a lot to explore, more than I actually thought there would be, and while some of it can be a little stale, overall it is a lot of fun to collect things and solve puzzles. So I'll give this 73 points. Combat in this game is different than any other turn-based combat system I've played before. For standard battles, Mario stands in the middle of a ring with enemies all around. You need to organize this 3-layer ring in typically 1 to 3 moves in a set time limit in order to have all the enemies lined up or grouped together a certain way. Then, you get bonus attack power and typically are able to take out most, if not all, of the enemies. Which is a really good thing because enemies really deal damage in this game. Like, they'll easily take out 50% or more of your health in a single attack if you aren't good at the blocking mechanic. This is stressful, but also kinda super amazing, and I honestly loved it. Having a minute or often less to organize and make a few moves on a ring doesn't seem difficult or fun, but in this game, I really loved it. There's something so satisfying when it clicks, and you realize, oh, move this one, and this one, and this one, and bam! Alright, prepare to be attacked, Goombas. Now, I was really worried about the intro and first chapter that the system was going to get boring and repetitive, and to be honest, during those parts it was. But once we moved into the second chapter, we started seeing a wider variety of enemies, and with them, a wider variety of ring puzzles. I started really enjoying what was going on, and this turned into a great combat system for me. Boss fights, however, are pretty different. Instead of Mario in the center of the circle, that's where the boss sits. The rings in the circle have attack, movement, bonus, and Vellumental options for you to organize however you want. The arrows determine your path, and whatever you run into is what you get to do. This again is under a time limit and a movement limit, and I'm honestly kind of torn on the boss fights. They have the puzzle element that I liked with the normal fights, but some of the boss fights are just too simple, and some on the other hand are just too hard. The Fire Vellumental, for example, you have to completely defeat before or without using the 1000 fold arm technique, otherwise it'll completely restore its health. The only problem is I didn't know that until it was too late, and used that technique 2 or 3 times because I wasn't sure when I was close enough to ending that boss. On the other hand, some bosses are extremely fun. I actually really enjoyed the Color Pencil boss, as it had an interesting way to handle multiple phases of attack. Also, anyone who says office supply bosses are lame, play through this game because they were actually made really interesting. Overall, I really ended up enjoying standard combat after a while, and I may not have loved all of the boss fights, but there were some really interesting points in them. So I'll be giving combat 59 points. When I saw the trailer for this game, I thought it looked interesting, like a pretty standard modern Paper Mario game. Of course, I only watched that first trailer, and I'm glad I did because it let me be surprised with how amazing this game looks for the art style it's trying to achieve. This cartoony, papery, origami-y aesthetic truly amazed me from the beginning, and I thought each area was well crafted. Crap, I was trying to get through this video with no puns. Anyway, the water, for example, is just amazing. There was a part I was playing this game and I was like, look at that water! Oh my god, it looks so cool! Which was weird and not what I expected in a paper game, but the variety of graphics is what really gets me. We get a pretty standard Mario area with green grass and dirt paths, but then we get this amazing modern Toad Town with cool origami on the buildings. The characters in this game all share that paper aesthetic, which I was honestly hoping for a little bit of an upgrade for, but they still look pretty good. But the original aspect in this game is the origami characters. After playing the game for an hour, my first thought was, there has to be instructions on how to make these with origami paper! I wasn't able to find instructions, but please, if you find instructions on creating the origami enemies from Paper Mario the Origami King, please send them to me here, or on Twitter, or something I need to know. Suffice to say, I enjoy the graphics for the nice cartoony, papery style that they are, so I'm going to give them 64 points. As I mentioned before, with Paper Mario the Origami King, I was a little bit skeptical on what this game was going to be like. However, after playing it, I have to say I am ecstatic that I had the chance to and ecstatic that I did play this game. I thought it was really good, and we can see that with story at 86 points, exploration at 73 points, we have combat 59 points, graphics we put at 64 points, and so with all of that being kind of mathed together, we got that at 281 points. So that's going to put it number 9 on my game list. It is below Ori and the Blind Forest, but it is above the game Control, and so I think that's a pretty good spot for it. I will admit I'm a little sad. I wanted a little bit more out of this game, just a little bit, so that I could come up to the same ranks as Paper Mario 1 and Paper Mario Thousand Year Door, which are my number 1 and 2 games, but I'm happy with this game. I'm happy with how it turned out. I'm happy it's number 9 on my list. I really enjoyed it. So with all of that being said, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today and watching this video. If you have any thoughts or if you have any games you want to suggest me to play in the future, drop them off in the comments down below. If you want to see more of my videos, hit the subscribe button and then you'll get the notifications. Also hit that little alert bell and then you'll get the actual notifications. But hey, thank you guys so much and I hope you have a good one.